Hey, what's up everyone? This is Snicked, back with another Royal Revolt 2 video and the first installment in our dungeon guide for Royal Revolt 2. Now, as many of you are familiar, Flare Games did update Royal Revolt 2 to version 1.4 back on Monday, September 15th, and that introduced a huge subterranean environment underneath your castle that includes 70 different dungeon levels. As you can see here, I'm scrolling up toward the surface through all of the levels. Those levels range from the Diamond Vault level 1, as you can see here, and it's a really simplistic level, exactly like a base that someone would set up when they first create their base in Royal Revolt 2. It has a very modest expense of food at 22 food. And you go down and work your way and progress deeper into the dungeon, encountering dungeons that offer gems, encountering dungeons that often offer gold, also encountering dungeons that offer grave goods, as they're called here, which is basically hero items that you can win, or special items that you can win from getting a full victory or a 3-crown victory in that dungeon, and that's required to get any of this loot, by the way. And then you ultimately, you also encounter the monsters. So there are 4 monsters in the new Royal Revolt 2 update: the Ogre, Gargoyle, Mummy, and Werewolf. And as you work your way down, you encounter them at different kind of substrata here in this subterranean environment. And every time you encounter a monster, you level that monster up an additional level until ultimately you get all the way down into this volcanic kind of core substratum that's at the deepest part beneath your castle, and you get down finally to the Crypt of the Living Dead 4, which is the 70th dungeon in the update, and that requires 720 food to attempt even one time. Features 21 towers, has 9 different barriers, to level 2 or level 12 spike pads, and is insanely difficult. Has I don't know how many skull towers it has, but everything is maxed out. Everything is incredibly challenging, and I would say, excuse me, that it's impossible for any player, even HSMK probably, who's level 120 right now, to work their way all the way through this and get through it in the time allotted, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, without dying and resurrecting, etc. So we will look at this base later on in a separate video, but just wanted to give you an idea scrolling down through there and looking at the food expenses and the sophistication of these dungeons, the full spectrum of what's going on down here in the dungeon. So for this installment, the first installment, what I would like to do for those of you who are, delving into kind of the upper stratum or strata of the dungeon, or the upper levels of the dungeon, and haven't made your way down too deeply yet, I want to save you some trouble and give you an idea of the optimal path to take to get to and through all of the monsters, so that you can level the monsters as quickly as possible. There are a lot of detours and a lot of twists and turns here where you can kind of veer off and mine into other dungeons, take tangents to get either gold, hero items, or gems. But as you get down further into the dungeon, that becomes a more and more expensive and time-consuming proposition, especially when you get down to the very bottom, where if you go in the wrong direction, that your worker is going to be tied up for 7 days going off to track down some loot. And of course, the loot rewards down there are excellent. But if your intent is to level up your monsters, which is what this particular installment of our dungeon guide is centered around, then that can really be to your detriment, and that can consume a lot of needless time. So without further ado, let's have a look at the optimal path for working our way through the dungeon. This will be a little time consuming, and I'm going to hit each level in turn. And what I'll do after I create the video out on the YouTube summary is I will list the I'm not sure I want to commit to that, but I guess I am going to now. I'm going to list the dungeons in order that you would want to take down, and I'll try to update that and provide some additional details, like the time it takes to tunnel from dungeon to dungeon as those come in. I did record some of those in the early levels, but unfortunately did not get all the details going down into the later dungeons. So we'll take a little while to update that, but we will get that together, and I'll publish that out on YouTube and also out in the Facebook groups for Royal Revolt 2. So, when we first come into the dungeon, we hit the Diamond Vault number 1. So Diamond Vault number 1 is the first level. The second level, as you can see here, is Diamond Vault number 2. Third, we have Diamond Vault number 3. And this is our first waypoint. We can go off to the left, as you can see here, and hit two other dungeons, or we can go straight down. So we're going to go straight down from Diamond Vault number 3 to Diamond Vault number 4. Diamond Vault number 4 to Vein of Gold 3. From Vein of Gold 3, we reach another waypoint. We hit Diamond Vault 6, and this is actually the first point where you can tunnel in 3 different directions at the same time. But from Diamond Vault 6, you're going to want to tunnel down. Okay? Tunnel down from Diamond Vault 6, and that will take you to the Behemoth Chamber 1. I believe that is the, what is that? That's the seventh tunnel, or the 7th dungeon that you should reach if you're following this linear progression down through the dungeon. And the Behemoth Chamber 1 is where you encounter the Ogre for the first time. From Behemoth Chamber 1, you get to Diamond Vault number 8. You come to a different waypoint. If you go left, you'll hit, that'll take you off on a tangent to 2 other loot dungeons. But from Diamond Vault number 8, you're going to go down to Vein of Gold 5. From Vein of Gold 5, Grotesque Grotto number 1. And I believe that is the 9th in the progression. 9th or 10th? I've already lost track. I think it's 9th. So the Grotesque Grotto number 1 is where you encounter the gargoyle for the first time. So we've hit the Ogre for the first time, and now the Grotesque Grotto. Grotesque Grotto, you're going to go down to the Vein of Gold 7. Vein of Gold 7 to the Vein of Gold 8. Now from the Vein of Gold 8, you can tunnel in 3 different directions. What you'll want to do, again, is tunnel straight down. When you tunnel straight down, you'll hit the Behemoth Chamber 2. This is the second encounter that you'll have with the Ogre. Once you get through the Behemoth Chamber 2, that will provide you with the Ogre level 2. Now from here, things get a little tricky. You can go left. Not too tricky, but you can go left, and that's going to take you on another tangent into some other loot dungeons. But once again, from Behemoth Chamber 2, you're going to want to tunnel straight down to Vein of Gold 11. From Vein of Gold 11, you're going to tunnel right, no choice there, to the Crypt of the Living Dead 1, where you're going to encounter the Mummy for the very first time. And you can see here, by the time you get to the Mummy, the food has gone from 22 food on the first level to 277 food. So the bases are still relatively easy for a mid to high level player, but the amount of food that it costs becomes pretty exorbitant. And this is just the beginning. So Crypt of the Living Dead number 1, your first mummy encounter, you tunnel down to Vein of Gold 12. From Vein of Gold 12, you tunnel down to Grotesque Grotto 2. So this is the Gargoyle level 2. And from here you can tunnel in 3 different directions. You can tunnel up, left, or down. Once again, you're going to tunnel straight down from Grotesque Grotto 2 to Behemoth Chamber 3, where you hit the Ogre level 3. From Behemoth Chamber 3, tunnel down again, no choice there, to the Vein of Gold 14. From Vein of Gold 14, you have 3 choices. You want to tunnel down again. You're starting to notice a trend here. And we're actually getting down into the levels where I didn't hit some of these loot dungeons, so I have not yet completed all 70 levels. But again, from the Vein of Gold 14, we're going to move down to the Shapeshifter Hollow 1. And this is the first werewolf encounter, so we'll get werewolf number 1. And that's 378 food. So from the time we got the mummy number 1 to the werewolf number 1, we went up another 100 food, from 277 to 378 food. So just to show you here, it's 322 food right there for the Diamond Vault 12, or the and then it's the 252 food for the Vein of Gold 14. So the Diamond Vaults typically require more food than the Vein of Gold, or the Gold Vaults, or the Gold Dungeons, I should say. And then the monsters require a lot more food than any of the other loot dungeons. And so there's kind of a tier there where gold is the lowest, followed by, I think it's followed by, I want to say followed by loot after that. There's Cave of Grave Goods. So gold's the lowest, it was 252. Cave of Grave Goods here is 322 food. And then this Diamond Vault is 322. So looks like maybe, I haven't fully studied that, but the Diamond Vaults, or I should say the Diamond Dungeons and the Hero Item Dungeons have a similar food expense at similar levels. The gold, again, are lower. You can see it's 252 there. And then we get right down here again to the Shapeshifter Hollow, and the food there is 378. So, summarization there: the gold dungeons have a lower food cost than comparable level hero item dungeons and gem dungeons, and then the adjacent or the monster dungeons that are closest by have a significantly higher food cost than any of the other dungeons. And so you can see there is kind of a tiered approach there to the food cost. Once we go from Shapeshifter Hollow, we're going to tunnel down to the Vein of Gold 15. Tunnel down again to the Crypt of the Living Dead 2, where we get the Mummy level 2. Tunneling down again to the Vein of Gold 16. Tunneling over to the Grotesque Grotto 3, where we hit the Gargoyle level 3. Now we're getting into like the Quartz stratum, and so further underground. Vein of Gold 17 is next. Behemoth Chamber 4, where we get Ogre level 4. Tunnel straight down from there to the Vein of Gold 18. Let's give you an idea. Now 336 food for the Vein of Gold 18. Okay, and that actually just updated for me. Nice. Where was I? Vein of Gold 18 right here. Shapeshifter Hollow 2 is next, and that's where we'll get the Werewolf number 2. There's 3 Werewolf levels total. Tunnel down to the Crypt of Living Dead 3. That's the Mummy level 3. That's the max, or that's the level 3 of 4 for the Mummy here. And you can see 532 food, so getting kind of crazy. Grotesque Grotto number 4. 576 food right next door. That's the max level for the Gargoyle level 4. Once we get past the Grotesque Grotto number 4, we get into the lava, or the core stratum of the dungeon, which is the last one. We hit Vein of Gold number 20, 384 food. So you can see the gold veins, or the gold dungeons, are still somewhat manageable in their cost. Not really. It's far and away above what you would spend to go out on a base, and for many of you, that's probably 2 or 3 times what you would spend. But by the time you get down here, no, that's not even true. I was going to say by the time you get down here, it probably won't seem like that much, but I'm level 95, and it still seems like a ton to me. So beneath that gold vein number 20, or Vein of Gold number 20, you get to the Behemoth Chamber number 5, and so you do max out the Gargoyle at Grotesque Grotto number 4 before you max out the Ogre at Behemoth Chamber number 5. And that's the last level for the Ogre, and you can see 621 food. Tunnel down from the Behemoth Chamber number 5 to Shapeshifter Hollow number 3. That's the Werewolf level 3, the max level Werewolf. 669 food. Then it's linear from here. Vein of Gold number 22, 420 food. And then finally, and last but not least, the Crypt of the Living Dead 4 for 720 food to get you the level 4 Mummy. So if you were taking notes there, and I'm sure you weren't, you'll see that it is fairly linear almost in every case, as long as if you have a choice of a direction you can tunnel in. If you tunnel down, you're going to be on the straight and narrow path to leveling up and maxing out the monsters. But there are a few tangents there that we'll want to be wary of if our goal is to maximize our efficiency in getting through and leveling to get all of the monsters as soon as possible. So as I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, I will include the list that I just ran through kind of in a summary format in the YouTube description, and I'll also provide this information out on YouTube out on Facebook as well for those of you that are out there. So that's it for installment number 1 in the Royal Revolt 2 Dungeon Guide. Hopefully you guys found that informative. If you like that, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel. There'll be a lot more content like this to come. You can give me a thumbs up here, and then like the info out on Facebook if you find it helpful as well. Otherwise, again, thanks for watching, guys, and look forward to hosting you in the next video. Thanks.